my god, I can't stop crying. Fuck. Hi friends, it's me again. I look a mess because I know I'm going to cry in this video. Like, I am functioning on like 3 hours of sleep. I've been tearing up all day just thinking about these books I'm gonna talk about. So March was an interesting month. It was spring break for me at the beginning, so I traveled, hung out with family, and I brought books with me as well. This month I ended up reading 12 books, which was very surprising to me. In my reading wrap-ups, I typically go in the exact order that I read the books in, but we're doing something different today because I cannot stop thinking about these characters. Like, I'm tearing up right now just talking about them, so I just kind of want to cry and get it over with. Yeah, so that's what we're gonna do. I jumped back into the Addicted series this month. I haven't touched it since November, and this was the last book I left off with. So this is Thrive. We are back to Lily and Lo's point of view. And this one is kind of just a recap of Hot House Flower and Kiss the Sky, which are the two Calloway sisters books that came before this. So I was really excited that I left off with this just because I haven't touched the series since November. So this was a good recap that I needed, and I thought that it was really interesting getting inside the heads of Lily and Lo. I'm not gonna go too in depth about this just because it is kind of a recap book. I will say that I really like this book. I gave it 4 stars. Typically when I've seen reviews that are 4 stars on this book, they usually say just because it's a recap that they feel like it was good, but like not really that necessary, you know, especially if they binge the series. I gave this a 4 star for a different reason. Within Kiss the Sky and Hot House Flower, you are still seeing Lily and Lo make decisions that I was kind of like about when I read them from other characters' point of view. So picking up this book, I was really excited because I'm like, maybe I can understand better why they did the things they did because I'm in their heads. Unfortunately, I felt like being in their heads almost made it worse because I still did not agree. I was just very frustrated for about 60% of this book because things were just... Lilo stresses me out. I am not gonna lie. I adore them. I absolutely love them. I'm rooting for them, but I will not pretend like they don't give me gray hair sometimes. But if you've been following me along on my Addicted series journey, you know that I really struggled with this series just because of the things that were happening. I knew going into this I was still gonna be a little about the series, but this was still a really, really good book. I did enjoy it. It was a phenomenal recap, especially since I have not touched the series in a minute. Oh god. Okay. The next book in the Addicted series is Addicted After All. This is the last Lilo book. I finished this last night. Bear with me. I'm already tearing up. Why am I already crying? Fuck. Addicted After All is still from Lilo's point of view. It's their last book, and this is the book that I've needed from them this entire series. Everything was just wrapped up and told so beautifully, and you really get to see the character development, and it made the first 6-7 books in this series so worth it. This is the book I needed to sell me on this series. I thought it was Hot House Flower. It's this one, because not only are you getting Lilo moments, but you're getting core 6 moments, and you're really seeing the found family aspect that I've been hearing so much about. I felt all the love. Ugh. It's still so heartbreaking because these characters just go through so much. I can't even talk. Fuck. These are happy tears, I promise. Again, I don't want to go too much into this book because I feel like it'll be mostly spoilers, and I think you should read it and just build up to this book because the relief I got from Lilo and just fuck seeing them mature and accept themselves. Oh, this is brutal to get through. I struggled with every single Lilo book, but this one was everything. It's what I've been needing. It was my Lilo breakthrough moment. And if you're like me, who struggled to get through the Addicted series, I highly recommend you keep going and get to this book. It just made the series so worth it. I'm just gonna read the moment that really did it for me. I don't know if this is a spoiler, so if you haven't read the series and if you don't want like any dialogue being read to you, if you want to wait, just skip this part. But for those who have read this series, I'm just gonna read this to you, and hopefully you sob as well as I did, because I was not okay. This is Connor speaking, and he says, fuck. I speak for everyone here today when I say that you two, Lily and Lauren, are the strongest people we've all ever had the honor to meet. How do you even say this fucking word? Connor is so smart. You both have spent years praising all of us for our talents and our strengths, but you were too blinded by your own foibles to even realize how much we've revered you. For years, we've watched you fight for this future for each other, and you've conquered a larger battle in your lifetime than most of us will ever come to see. You are our heroes, and today we are grateful to celebrate your love and your life together. What the fuck? Ugh, this is not gonna be a good video. Just reading that passage from someone that both Lily and Lo look up to so much, like, it just really hit home. Oh my god, I can't stop crying. Fuck. So yeah, that ruined me. I'm not well, and I just really needed to get this out of the way so that I can continue with the video, because I was gonna think about it the whole time and just tear up at random moments, and I don't want to do that. This is by far my favorite Lilo book. I fell in love with the characters even more, and I just cannot wait to read the rest of the series. I know it's still gonna ruin me, like I'm not safe, but I am just so happy that I finally got my Lilo breakthrough, because I really wanted to read a book of theirs and rate it 5 stars. And this was it for me. Now that I'm done fucking crying on camera, Jesus. So the first book I read this month was All Roads Lead Here by Mariana Zapata. I was really excited to get to this. You are following Aurora and Tobias Rhodes. She's just gone through a really bad divorce, and she decides that she wants to move back to her hometown where she grew up, and where her and her mom just used to go on all of these fun adventures. So she ends up renting out this house garage of Tobias's, and he is very grumpy. Like, this is one of the most grumpiest men I've ever read about, and I ate up every single second. This book felt really cozy, and it definitely made you want to like go outside. I did not, but I really like this. I just read it a lot slower than I wanted to because I was traveling and I was around family, so I really couldn't concentrate. So it definitely took me a while, and I also think that's why at first I wasn't really vibing with it. This is possibly the slowest book I've ever fucking read, which, I mean, it's Mariana Zapata. I was kind of expecting that, but when I tell you, Tobias, the love interest, was a side character until around the 60% mark, if that. I kind of really struggled with that. And the few Mariana Zapata books I've read, they're all slow burn, but eventually it leads up to a nice like climax or a build up where it's like it all seems worth it. I wasn't sure if the slow burn was worth it in this book specifically. I still really liked it. I gave it 4.5, but I did kind of struggle connecting to the idea of Aura and Tobias together, just because it took so long, and I almost forgot about Tobias a lot in this book, honestly. So really enjoyed it. Very slow. I just wasn't sure if the slow burn was worth it in this book like in her other books. Oh boy, we've got a series to talk about. So y'all know I picked up the Brutal Birthright series around November, and I finally finished it, I want to say last month. Sophie Lark, the author, has a spin-off series about their kids, and this is called the Kingmakers series. I was really excited to get to it because I heard that it was 10 times better than Brutal Birthright, and I love Brutal Birthright. Like, it was already perfect, but hearing that this was even better, I ate it up. When I tell you, I have never binged a series so fast in my life. Like, these are books that I read in a day, and y'all know that's very rare for me, okay? Like, I don't read books in a day. It's really hard for me to do that. It was just everything. Like, literally imagine Hogwarts, but for mafia kids. Can't get better than that, right? The first book is The Heir, and it follows Leo and Anna. Leo is the son of Sebastian and Yelena, and then Anna is the daughter of Miko and Nessa. Y'all know how I feel about my baby Mikolaj, so I was really excited to see like his little moments in this, being a dad and still being so grumpy and just Leo and Anna are best friends, so it's very friends to lovers. There is so much angst and tension in this book, and there's some conflict that happens, and there's another love interest that pops in. So you are really just like going through this book on your toes because so much shit happened. By the time everything was resolved, I really appreciated Leo and Anna's friendship, their relationship that bloomed because of it. It was just so cute, so good, so hot. And I think this is definitely one of my favorites in the entire series. I gave it a 4.5. I really love this book. Next up, you have The Rebel, which is about Miles and Zoe. Miles is Callum and Ada's son, and I was really excited to get to his book because I love Ada so much. She is the Brutal Birthright series to me. Like, phenomenal queen. This one takes more of a forbidden trope. Like, Zoe is supposed to marry this guy, but he is a literal psychopath, so it's not looking good. Miles ends up kind of like falling in love with her, and he knows he's not supposed to. And Miles is also just like this reckless kind of carefree guy. Following him pursue Zoe and try to like do anything in his power to make sure that she would not marry this creep. It was everything. He is so hot. I gave this one a 4 star. Something just felt like it was missing. I had such high expectations for this because Miles is Ada's son. I just did not imagine like this route for Miles, you know? But either way, I still loved where it ended up going. I love that for him. There is a suggested reading order in the Kingmaker series. As always, you don't have to follow it if you don't want to, but I like doing suggested reading orders, so I did. So after you read The Heir and the Rebel, you move on to Sophie's Underworld series, and you read the first 2 books in those before you move on to the 3rd book in the the Kingmaker series. After the Rebel, I picked up Ivan. You have Ivan and Sloane, who are the most badass couple I've ever read about. Sloane is tasked with killing Ivan, but it does not work out for homegirl. He ends up catching her and keeping her prisoner, and then they end up falling in love. I personally love those kind of books because I honestly feel like that's some shit that would happen to me. Like, if I am tasked to kill a guy and he catches me and keeps me prisoner, I guarantee you I'm probably gonna fall in love with him. And that's so bad. I do not condone that. I'm just saying, I know myself. So you can really see their individuality and how strong they are by themselves. So when they come together, it is everything. It's giving Mr. and Mrs. Smith. I ended up giving Ivan 4 stars. Then after you read Ivan, you move on to Snow. I love this a lot. I gave it 5 stars. Snow is this underground boxer, and then you have Sasha. Her family owes like these mafia bosses a lot of money. So to pay off her family's debt, she agrees to be the doctor of this mafia boss because like they're in the mafia, so everything has to be kind of like hush hush. So they can't really go to a doctor. So she's like, yeah, I will offer up my medical services and take care of your men for you if you leave my family alone. So she is tasked to do this for a couple years. That's how she ends up meeting Snow, because she ends up like patching him up and stuff, which is also a trope I love. I was a little nervous because it did start off a little slow for me. Like, it was a lot of plot being explained, but once you got through it, it was so good. So good. Ivan, Sloane, Snow, and Sasha do appear in the next Kingmaker book. That leads me to The Bully, which is Dean's story. When I tell you I've never hated a fictional character more than this man, so I was so excited to get to his redemption arc just because this entire series, he's been a psychopath. He's been an asshole, but I love a good redemption arc, and I think Sophie did a really good job at establishing that and giving him a mentor. It was everything to me. This one's kind of a bully romance. You have Dean, who is making Kat suffer because Kat did something and Dean caught her doing it. So he promises not to rat her out to their headmaster if she does everything that he says. And some of the things he made her do, I was like, oh my God, I would rather die. But she did them. They ended up falling in love. Very cute. I thought the redemption arc was phenomenal. And I love that he was paired with Kat because I was so unsure of how that was going to work, but it was perfect. Sophie Lark knows what the hell she's doing. Then you have The Spy. This one's one of my favorites out of the series as well. I really cannot talk about this book without giving spoilers because I honestly did not know what to expect going into this book. I was like, oh shit, this just took a turn. And I really loved where the story ended up going. It was action-packed, felt like I was watching a movie. The love stories in this, phenomenal. Like, definitely one of my favorites in the series. I gave The Spy 5 stars, and I also gave The Bully 5 stars. And then you have The Savage, which also came out this month. This one is not only my favorite in the series, but it's my favorite book Sophie has ever written. This book explains what happens when 2 hurricanes just mashed together. You're following Sabrina and Adric. Sabrina is Nero's daughter, and I was so excited to get to her because she's been mentioned a lot in the series as well. And she's this really gorgeous, carefree, reckless girl, which I was not expecting anything less because she is Nero's daughter. I don't even know how to describe it. Like, this was a big ass orgasm. Definitely one of the hottest books I've ever read. This was also just a different kind of book. Like, it's very fast paced. I don't want to say insta love because it's just how the characters are. Like, I was expecting nothing less from them. Everything was just full force, 100 miles per hour. And it made reading this book so fun and so easy to get through. Sophie put her foot in this. Then I read Priest. I actually listened to this as an audiobook. It was my first audiobook, and I will say it was an experience. So in Priest, you are following Father Tyler Bell, who is a priest, right? One day in his confessional, a woman named Poppy comes in and instantly he's in love with her. Like, I've heard so much about this book. It is very taboo, so definitely check trigger warnings, or if taboo is not for you, then I would not recommend going into this book because it does deal heavily with religion and sexuality. So just keep that in mind if you decide to read this book. I really liked that this book kind of made sense to me and it didn't feel disrespectful at all. At least in my personal opinion. Like, I don't want to speak for everyone else. I ended up giving this a 4 star. It was very insta-lovey. The smut was phenomenal. Like, I hear Sierra Simone write smut really well. This was only my first book by her, and there are 2 other books in the series that I want to get to. Next, I read Tutoring the Player. I got an arc of this, and I was so excited to jump back into like some hockey romance because that is how I got started reading last summer with the off-campus series. So I will say, if you like the deal by Elle Kennedy. You should like this book. Daisy has the biggest crush on Liam, who is a hockey player, and he is in one of her classes. And one day she is partnered to work with him and his best friend Jordan, who is also on the hockey team. She is head over heels in love with Liam, so she's really excited to get to work with him. And Jordan is just kind of there, you know? As the story goes along, Jordan and Daisy end up hanging out a lot more. Daisy starts to realize that maybe she's not into Liam like she thought she was. There's a lot of back and forth of her feelings between two of these best friends. This was a very cute, light read. It was only like 270 pages. I really liked it. I gave it a 3.5. It was just a very cutesy book. Wasn't my favorite thing ever, but if you do need something fast-paced, quick to follow, and you want like a sports romance, highly recommend. It just came out this month as well. So that was my March. I was not expecting to read 12 books, but I was pleasantly surprised with the series that I read, some standalones as well, some new authors I found. So I really enjoyed this month. And as usual, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you like me, please subscribe, and I will see y'all next time.